What a great honor to be up here with you. And I just kind of want to check in with what I'm feeling right now. Like I look at I feel my hands are tingling, my heart's kind of pounding. I have this kind of nervous anxiety. And what's going on inside of me, that's my body telling me I care about what's going on in this room right here. And what I'm about to offer you is coming from a place of love. And I haven't felt this feeling for a while, and it kind of feels good. It reminds me of when I was a player, and I'm in the tunnel waiting to come out, and I get the opportunity to play. Today, I get the opportunity to serve. I just wanted to give that feeling to you that I just felt as I walk up on stage here with you. So, I'm excited to be here, and what I'm about to share with you guys here today is nothing new. Everything that I'm going to say has been given by the speakers who have come before me. And more importantly, what I'm about to share with you is already inside of you. So you don't need to take any notes. So you guys got all your pens and papers and out and your books and your phones, and Haley, you got your wonderful laptop of notes over there. You don't need it. I'm not going to have amazing stuff on the screen, and I'm not going to say anything new. You don't need to say anything. You don't need to write anything, because my challenge to you is be in tune with your personal experience, just like I started with that. My purpose of being on this stage is very simple. I just want you to feel the heart and a soul of a healing organization. I want you to feel that. I don't want you to write it down on a stupid little note. I want you to feel that feeling. So when you leave here, that's what you will remember. So permission to put all that stuff away. And I invite you guys to go on a journey with me. I need a clicker. Do we have a clicker to do our slides here, guys? Is it right here? Thanks. So I'm going to invite you guys to go on a journey with me today. My journey of becoming a caregiver. I know if you were sick, lying in a hospital bed, and needing help with your care needs like bathing and toileting, having this former NFL offensive lineman coming into your room to help meet those care needs of yours may not make you feel the most comfortable. It's not quite the picture of a person that people have in their head when they think of a sweet, loving caregiver. But despite this, a caregiver is who I'm aspiring to become. This is not some ploy or to put on a business card or a marketing tactic or something. Learning to embody the love of a caregiver has become my spiritual practice. See, I believe at the core of who I am lives a caregiver. And I'm seeking to learn how to give him to the world. I want to share with you how I've arrived at this conclusion by going over my life story, bucketed in 3 major sections. My identity as an athlete, my identity as a business owner, and how these 2 phases of my life was preparing me to step into the phase I'm currently evolving into, my identity as a caregiver. When I was young, I only had one goal, and that was to be a professional athlete. I was able to live that dream. I played center for the Green Bay Packers, the St. Louis Rams. And as an offensive lineman, I don't have any fancy statistics to share with you. My real only accomplishment of note, Scott, for you, is that I've had 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks, Brett Favre and Kurt Warner, who both had their hands up my ass. Most people think that professional athletes are just gifted with talent. And from my experience, that wasn't true with me. My career started on the 8th grade B team. When I was struggling with it, my dad took me to a local restaurant and said that, Andy, you have a better chance of winning the lottery than you do of becoming a professional athlete. But I was unwilling to accept that answer and was ready to do whatever it takes to achieve my dream. It was from that moment that I realized that I knew my dream wasn't going to be handed to me. If I wanted it, I was going to have to be willing to do what it takes to get it. I had to be willing to do what it takes. I had to be willing to do that in which most only desire to do. I had to care more than others think reasonable. I had to care the most. And as a result of this attitude, I ended up having a very successful career. I ended up being able to live my dream of being a professional athlete. And on the day I signed with the Green Bay Packers, I took my dad to that same restaurant he took me to when I was in 8th grade. And I said, "Dad, do you remember that time you brought me here and said that I had a better chance of winning the lottery than I do becoming a professional athlete?" And he was like, "No, son, I don't remember that." And I got that NFL contract out of my back. I slammed it on the ground, and I said, "Well, I do, and I'm paying for dinner today with my NFL contract." These lessons I learned weren't just so I could live my dream of being a professional athlete. Unbeknownst to me at the time, these lessons were introducing me to the fierce will it takes to be a caregiver who is willing to do whatever it takes for those they serve. Second phase of my life story that I'd like to share with you is my identity as a business owner. My journey to move on from my days as an athlete started when I got a call for adventure. In 2004, I was in my 3rd season in the NFL, and I was slated to take the starting position. But there was a tension inside of me. Even though I was living what I thought was my dream, I wasn't feeling fulfilled. And then one day, my brothers came in to visit me, and over dinner they said that my father was getting sick and needed to back out of the business. And they asked me to step in to the family business and fill this void. Much to their surprise, not necessarily mine, I said yes right in that moment, right in that meeting. Ultimately, I made the decision to leave the NFL in order to pursue meaning, as I'd come to feel like the NFL life was too focused on me. I wanted to feel alive in my work. I wanted to get kind of caught up in something that was bigger than me. So I walked away from the NFL and joined the family business. In the 15 years I've been at Bickford Senior Living, we've grown from a small family-run business to an organization that spreads across the country, serving over 63 locations, 3,000 residents, 3,000 employees. And when people find out I'm in the senior living business, and most of whom those we serve has Alzheimer's and dementia, I get a pretty common response, and it's like, "Man, that business, that must be booming, right? That big age wave that's coming, right?" Well, from my experience, that hasn't been true with me. I would liken my years in the family business to strapping a 500-pound gorilla on my back and taking him to a place he doesn't want to go. You see, my father was a brilliant entrepreneur and a pioneer in our industry. And like many purpose-driven entrepreneurs who didn't want to relinquish control to outside investors, he heaped a ton of debt on the business and bet on himself. My brothers and I had been carrying that financial burden. Many years, we have lived payroll to payroll, having to make decisions like ordering pizza for our residents because we couldn't pay our food bill on time. And while some speakers have come up here and said, how successful they've been at applying the principles of conscious capitalism, I'll be the speaker to say my path to conscious capitalism has been and currently is a street fight. We've made a career of navigating short-term financial partners whose interests are not aligned with ours. And as a result of this, our business has navigated 2 potential bankruptcies, and one of which has been in this calendar year. Learning how to lead a purpose-driven business while balancing the short-term needs has been one hell of a journey. And the honest truth is that fear has been driving the bus of my leadership. But the fear of losing the business has given me the urgency I need to create change and innovate, which has catapulted Bickford to being considered an industry leader today. And while I'd never choose the path we took to get here again, I am grateful for what it has taught me. It has taught me how to never stop moving forward in the face of adversity and carrying the burden of a business. These lessons I have learned as a business owner will strengthen in me to carry the burden that I am now meant to carry as a caregiver. The third phase of my life story that I'd like to share with you is the phase I'm in now, my identity as a caregiver. I want to clearly express that I am learning how to evolve or to kind of step into this identity. As part of my leadership training at the Stegan Leadership Academy, we were challenged to create an organizational vision. And several of the inspiring visions we read revolved around growth, financial performance, market share. And as I set out to create a vision like this for Bickford, there was a strong tension inside of me. None of that stuff mattered to a majority of my workforce who's a caregiver. Growth, financial outcomes are not their goal, and in fact, they would say it is these types of things that keeps them from doing that in which they love. And so while I know a compelling vision can be a powerful tool to inspire the hearts and minds of your people, I felt as though we at Bickford need to set that aside for a moment, because in many ways, as a leader, I don't know where we're going. But wherever it is, I want to travel there in a purposeful way. And when I started thinking like that, something inside of me lit up. I stopped thinking about our future, and I started to focus on when we're at our best today, who are we? I wanted to better connect with our core identity. I wanted to make a declaration to the world of who we are. So it became evident for us that we needed to write our manifesto, and it was important for us not to outsource it. It had to come from our soul of our people. We needed it to connect to the heart of a caregiver. For that caregiver would tell us why we do what we do. And when we looked in the heart of a caregiver, deep in their core is love. And their life is about extending that love in the service of others. We created the manifesto to give the love in their heart a voice that the world needs to hear. So what I'm about to share with you is their fierce, beautiful message of love. But before I do, I want to prepare you to receive it. The manifesto is not something I just show to people who are seeking to consume it. It's too special to me. So I'm going to ask you to bring and be more in tune with the presence and bringing your presence into this space. The place of feeling and emotion is where we meet families in need. And I want to invite you to go there with me to the extent you can. So sit at the edge of your chair. Close your eyes. I want you to reflect on a loved one of yours that has battled with aging and disease. Some of you might be going through that right now. Remember their struggle. Remember their pain. Not only physically, but emotionally. Don't just think about it. Feel it. Feel it in your gut. All right, now open your eyes, and I want you to reflect on this picture that you see here. And don't take your eyes off of it while I talk for a while. I want to see if you can visualize this with me. Can you see your loved one looking in that mirror? Trying to hold on to their identity while they feel their home is being stripped from them, their independence threatened, in a vulnerable place of waiting on others to meet their needs. Now imagine you are that caregiver standing in that doorway, looking at your loved one, wanting to help, not knowing how, feeling guilty, carrying the weight of caregiving. In this space is where we meet families, and in this space, there is a deep sadness rocking our families that we serve to their core. And these are the emotions of the families when we meet them for the first time. And with the tenderness of that feeling, I now want to invite you to experience our Caregivers Manifesto. If you could turn off the lights as well. There is no higher calling. No greater purpose than that of a caregiver. Somehow, we've come to believe that caregiving is just for some of us and not all of us. Yet, at our core, we are all made to love, to connect, to extend ourselves in service of others. The question is, do we have the will to love, to do what it takes, to risk ourselves in caring, even when the burden is great? In times of happiness, in times of sadness, we are that caregiver, whatever it takes. Isn't that beautiful? My favorite scene is this scene. Her name is Fatuma. And she's this teensy little girl. But the sheer physicality of lifting this resident in the bed and the gentleness and the way in which she did it was absolutely breathtaking to me. And it's important to remember that these are not scenes we fabricated. These are our real residents. These are our real caregivers. The words of the manifesto did not come from some marketing agency or even a marketing department. They came from some serious inside work of the caregivers in our organization. And when we wrote the manifesto, we wrote it to connect with the heart of a caregiver, whether that caregiver was a nurse or the daughter of an aging parent. What I didn't realize is that the manifesto was awakening something inside of me. What this process has really done is awaken the caregiver inside of me. It is showing me that I need to infuse a caregiver's love into all aspects of my work and life. I needed to learn how to lead with love. And when I look back at the identities I've had in my life, I see how I was being prepared to become a caregiver. My time as an athlete, I learned how to care more than others think reasonable. Whatever the tasks I needed to do, I was willing to do whatever it takes. While this is still a cornerstone of who I am, as a caregiver, I am learning to relate to the doing of my work differently. It's not about just getting the job done anymore. It's about how much love can I bring to what it is that I do. And are others able to feel that love by the way in which I do it? I want to share with you an excerpt from a speech that I believe speaks from the heart of a caregiver. And this speech comes from one of the greatest exemplars of love in modern history, Martin Luther King Jr. As I read it, this quote, I just want you to watch our caregiver sweeping the floor. If it falls your lot to be a street sweeper, sweep streets like Michelangelo painted pictures. Sweep streets like Beethoven composed music. Sweep streets like Leontine Price sings before the Metropolitan Opera. Sweep streets like Shakespeare wrote poetry. Sweep streets so well that all the hosts of heaven and earth will have to pause and say, here lived a great street sweeper who swept her job well. If you can't be a pine at the top of a hill, be a shrub in the valley. Be the best little shrub on the side of a hill. Be a bush if you can't be a tree. If you can't be a highway, just be a trail. If you can't be a sun, be a star. For it isn't by size that you win or fail. Be the best of whatever you are. Learning to become a caregiver is teaching me how to access the love that is already inside of me and offering the quality of that love to whatever it is that I do. My time as a business owner, I learned how to carry the burden of the business and how to keep moving forward in the face of adversity. And while I still lean on these principles of grit and perseverance to carry me through difficult times, as a caregiver, I am learning to relate to how I carry the burden differently. I came across an old parable that is very meaningful to me, that speaks to and how we relate with the burdens that we carry as caregivers. And so it goes like this. A young woman had searched everywhere for enlightenment, but could find no answer. Until one day, she saw an old man walking slowly down a mountain path, carrying a heavy sack. Immediately, she sensed that this old man knew the secret she had desperately been seeking for many years. Old man, please tell me what you know. What is enlightenment? The old man smiled at her, swung the heavy burden off his shoulders, and stood up straight. Yes, I see, cried the young woman, my everlasting gratitude. But please, one question more. What is after enlightenment? Smiling again, the old man picked up the sack, slung it over his shoulders, steadied his burden, and continued on his way. There is a beauty in how this old man relates to the burden he is carrying. So many times as business leaders, we grow weary of the burdens that we carry. The financial pressure, the stress of payroll, the struggle with performance. We want it to go away. We feel like we're being forced to carry it. We ultimately fear losing, being unsuccessful, running out of time. We feel the burden is too great for us to carry. But as a caregiver, this is the burden I am meant to carry. It is molding me, shaping me, making me into the person I need to become, into the leader my business deserves. The caregiver inside of me says, lean into that burden. Don't resist it. Be grateful for the opportunity. What a gift that you are here to carry it. Learn to love this burden and carry it as if you've chosen it. I want to end my conversation with you guys today by offering you the tension that's inside of me. And my fear is that you think this message of healing that we've given at this conference and the message of a caregiver's love doesn't apply as much to you because you're not in an industry like this. And if that is what you think, then you are mistaken. Because it's not about what you do. It's how you do it. And are others able to feel that love by the way in which you do it? You, as a human being, have a need to express love. And your business is the best vehicle you have to give it. For the caregiver that's inside of me is inside of you. And if you want to join us in this calling, becoming a healing organization, there's a way of knowing if you're ready. Ask yourself, when was the last time that you've been rocked to your core by the needs of those you serve? Your employees, your customers, when has their needs genuinely, not corporate tie, genuinely, when has their needs rocked you to your core? That's how you know if you're ready. To unleash the deep love of a caregiver in your world, you have to be willing to hurt. The price of admission is discomfort. And as leaders, we need to let the world rock us to our core so that we will be able to rock the world to its core. And we know, as conscious capitalists, that when we love the world in this way, the world will love us in return. So go from here and set your world on fire. Allow people the opportunity to feel the raging heat of your wild self that loves this world without apology, and infuse whatever it is that you do with the fierce love of a caregiver. Thank you.